Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Backtrack. Well, of course, I'm your wonderful host, Prinny, who Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Backtrack. Well, we talk about some gaming stuff from our history, why I love stuff, why I am how I am, and overall, just my opinion about video game of yesteryear. And today is a very, very special episode since the release of RE2 Remake is just around the corner as of now, and I have some very strong feelings about Resident Evil 2, and of course, we are here to go over some of them today, and feel free to let me know in the comments what your guys' opinion. Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Backtrack. Well, I, of course, talk about some video game stuff from yesteryear, my opinion of it, how I discovered it, and what do said game or content mean to me. And today, we are going to be talking about Resident Evil 2, since the remake is just out in a couple more days. Can't have it fast enough. So, let's talk about my original experience with Resident Evil 2. So going back to the early-ish, I get more mid-90s-ish, a small little game by the name of Resident Evil 2 will release, and my life never was the same ever again. Oh, the good old days of the PS1. And honestly, this is one of them games that I kind of just stumbled across to in my youth, since I grew up watching mainly a lot of horror film, a lot of zombie films, so on and so on of that genre. And pretty much, I'm not 100% sure how it came to be, other than I know my brother, who is a few years older than me, really wanted to play it. And I have memories of us literally going to a video store. Yes, them things used to be a thing if you are too young to remember. It was a time when you could go to a magical shop where you pay a couple bucks and get game movies and whatnot for a few days or a night or so. And it was one of them cases. We used to go to it all the time, and I remember my brother always wanting to actually rent Resident Evil 2, but for whatever reason, mainly because it might have been new, I don't know, maybe it was just popular in the small little town we was in. I have no idea, because at that point in time, concepts of release date was very kind of scattered about, since most of my video game knowledge at that day were coming from the people I was around, or from like video game magazines of the time. But nonetheless, we went to the store multiple times, multiple days, constantly was always rented out, and ended up getting on a waiting list for it. And in return, I remember we went in it, taking it home, and just absolutely just falling in love with RE2. And pretty much after that, my brother kind of went down the rabbit hole of when we were 1, 3, so on and so on, as we will probably get to at some later point here. But the main thing about this that I remember so heavily was just how many times we went there trying to get our hands on this and just never could for a good, God, probably was like a week, maybe longer. And when we actually did get our hands on it, it was one of them moments playing it and just absolutely falling in love head over heel with it, since up to that point, like, the games I mainly ended up loving in my youth was Metroidvania style games. Or I guess at that point we didn't really have Metroidvania, we had Super Metroid, I guess would be the way to put this. And I remember when I was playing RE2, because I did not play 1 beforehand, 2 was my starting point, I instantly got hit with a sense of what Metroidvania ended up becoming, with the whole solving keys, getting item puzzles to go between areas and backtracking and the whole 9 yards that come with what ended up being Metroidvania style gameplay. And then on top of that, of it being a game all about zombies and monsters, which is what me and my brother was into so heavily at the time, it's safe to say it just literally just like hit us in the perfect way at the perfect time. And as time went on, ended up having to take it back. Never was actually able to find a actual copy of it myself to actually own to like way later in life. But I remember it was a while there where we wasn't able to get it again. And all I wanted to do was play it, and happened to be one of my friends in like middle-ish, high school-ish, ended up having a copy of it. And he ended up being like, oh yeah, you can just borrow it, play it, whatever. Ended up getting it from the kid, playing it over and over again, and it got to the point where the kid, once again, started asking for it back, which is understandable since it was his after all. So I remember at the age of, God, maybe 9, 10-ish, I remember literally being like, I guess somewhat saddish that I ended up having to give the game back, and how I couldn't find it anywhere. I wasn't able to buy it anywhere. So before I gave it back to him, I remember sitting down, and to that point, I pretty much had the game 100% memorized from point A to point B, how to do it all. So I ended up getting out my VCR, which hopefully some of you will remember what that is, and hooking it up to my PlayStation 1 at the time, just so I could do a Let's Play. This was back in 97, maybe 98, just to give an idea here. But I remember doing a Let's Play of recording my gameplay from beginning to end on a tape, just so whenever I got the desire to see Resident Evil 2, I could just literally pop in a VCR tape and just rewatch my gameplay. And I remember watching that thing so many times. It literally just burnt into my head so much. And any more so to the point of, like, in retrospect, it's like one of them things, at the time I didn't realize what I would technically do and what ended up technically becoming a Let's Play. But I remember doing that when I was so young, and I remember watching that so much. It's just because of that, or Resident Evil 2 ended up just being so burnt into my head that if one of them games, to this day, for whatever reason, I never got sick of, and if I probably should have. And I remember it so much like the back of my hand, mainly from that tape that I watched and how many times I played it beforehand. And then as I got older and started realizing more and more about what actually made it interesting, to the point of the whole A-B scenario, how to get all the unlockables and whatnot. And I remember one like eye-opening moment about it all was, at the time, they were releasing these comic magazine style thing. They were technically magazine size, but they were just comics. Going to Resident Evil 1 and 2, and then after that point, I know they released like, 5 or 6 of the issues. And each of them had just like standalone little like stories in it. Like each of them were like maybe 6, 7 pages, maybe a little bit more of telling different story, which at some point I probably need to do a video on them comics, because they were so great. It's so special. And especially to me, as far like my art was concerned, because I absolutely love the artwork in these things. But that's a story for another time. But I remember looking at the Resident Evil 2 comic magazine thing, and I remember in it that in one of the panels, when it got to the point where I believe it was Leon, I would say about 99% sure it was Leon, was in the part with the alligator. In the comics, it actually show, oh, put the button, a gat tank will fall, Leon shoots it, dies in one hit. And I remember looking at that being like, that's not in the game. And then once I got my hand on the game again, like later on, I ended up went and did it, and we were like, oh, this was actually in the game, and you actually one-shot the alligator boss if you do this. And that was one of the moments of realizing no matter how many times I have played it, it's still always something new to be discovered in RE2. And honestly, because of all that, Resident Evil 2 just became like the de facto survival horror game that I enjoy, with the Metroidvania-ness, with the science fiction of it all, with, of course, you know, the monsters and what would technically fall under the scary territory. And because of this, Resident Evil 2 would have to probably be up there like my top 5, maybe top 10 video games of all time that have really touched me personally. And yeah, because of that, once we got to the point of the GameCube and we got Resident Evil 1 remake happening, and after playing that and realizing how great of a remake that truly is, I was so excited for the possibility of seeing RE2 done in the same way as remake was originally for RE1. And time went by. Capcom put out Resident Evil 2 on the GameCube, but not what I originally wanted. It was literally just a prettier version of RE2. I believe might have been, what, the Dreamcast port, maybe? Maybe not. I might be a little off on that. Don't get me wrong, it was great and all. But, you know, it was a port of the game as if from another console, not the remake I originally wanted. So, ever since then, it was a little disappointing that we never had a proper remake happen. To probably, what, 2015-ish? When Capcom announced that they are doing the remake. And then they did not say nothing else about it for the next 4 years. And once we actually got the trailer, I believe, what was it, last year at E3? I want to say it was last year. My excitement just been right back to the root for RE2. And from everything I have seen, from what I have played with the demo and whatnot, it seems like RE2 going in the direction I want. In the direction that I was really originally hoping for 17-ish plus years ago at that point. And honestly, because of all that, I am super excited for what it to come of the franchise itself. And honestly, that's been my ride with Resident Evil 2 beyond then to now. Playing it, trying to play it, making let plays of it back in the mid-90s, to the disappointment, to the gloriness that we are working our way into with the release of RE2 Remake. So, with that, that's been my story about RE2, how I discovered it, how I played it, how I pretty much was making let play video all the way back when I was like 9. I guess something never changed, does it? But either way, with that being said, let me know in the comment below, what are your guys' opinion on RE2? How did you discover it? And what are you most excited about for RE2 Remake? So, while you guys doing that, to next time, I'm going to head on out of here. Make sure to like, favorite, subscribe, tell me your stories, and I will catch you that time on Backtracking. Till then, see you guys.